Have you ever wondered why it feels like life tests you more than others? Why, no matter how much effort you put in, the weight on your shoulders seems heavier than most people's? This is the story of those who are called chosen ones. But before you think this is just a cliche, let me ask you something. What if your struggles, your pain, and your constant trials aren't random? What if they're preparing you for something extraordinary, something you can't yet see? Let me take you on a journey of the hidden burden of chosen ones, a truth so deep it might just change the way you see your entire existence. Imagine a boy born into chaos. Let's call him Daniel. He grew up in a broken home, abandoned by one parent and neglected by the other. By the time he was 12, he had already seen more pain than most adults. But every time he thought he couldn't take anymore, something inside him whispered to keep going. What was this voice? Was it hope? Was it madness? Or was it something deeper? Fast forward years later, and Daniel is now in his late 20s. He's successful, driven, and admired by everyone around him. But inside, he's still haunted by the same question: why did life test him so much? Why him, of all people? The Bible says in Luke 12:48, "To whom much is given, much will be required at first glance." This might seem like a burden, a harsh demand on those who already feel overburdened. But what if this isn't a punishment? What if it's a calling? You see, chosen ones are not chosen because they're special in the way the world defines it. They're chosen because they have the capacity to endure, to transform, and to lead others out of the darkness. But the journey to becoming that beacon of light is anything but easy.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how let's break this down." Most people go through life avoiding suffering at all costs. They seek comfort, distraction, and fleeting happiness. But chosen ones don't have this luxury. Their suffering is not meaningless, it's a forge. It burns away their illusions, their weaknesses, their attachments to things that don't matter. This is why life tests you so much. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're being refined. This brings us to the hidden burden, the part no one talks about. Being a chosen one means carrying the weight of your own transformation while also bearing the responsibility of helping others. It's like climbing a mountain with a boulder on your back, only to find that at the top, you're expected to build a bridge for everyone else to cross. It's exhausting, unfair, and yet deeply meaningful. Think of figures like Moses, who led his people out of slavery in Egypt. He didn't ask for this role. In fact, he resisted it. But he was chosen because he had the strength to endure, not just for himself, but for an entire nation. Now, here's the part that most people miss. Life doesn't just test you for the sake of testing you. It tests you to reveal who you really are. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure is like a mirror, showing you the parts of yourself that need to grow. This is why chosen ones often feel isolated. Not because they're meant to be alone forever, but because solitude is the soil where self-awareness grows. In the words of the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your obstacles are not barriers, they are the path. So how do you carry this burden without breaking? First, you must shift your perspective. Stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Every time you're tested, ask yourself, what part of me is being called to grow? Is it patience? Resilience? Compassion? The moment you stop seeing your struggles as punishment and start seeing them as preparation, everything changes. Second, understand that you are not alone. While your journey might feel isolating, there are countless others walking their own paths with similar burdens. Seek them out. Share your story. One of the greatest lies the world tells us is that suffering is a sign of weakness. In reality, it's a sign of strength. The fact that you're still here, still fighting, proves that you have something extraordinary within you. Finally, embrace the uncertainty. Being a chosen one means walking a path that hasn't been fully revealed yet. It's terrifying, but it's also liberating. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need to take the next step, and then the next. Trust that the road will become clearer as you walk it. And here's the ultimate twist: the burden of the chosen one is also their greatest gift. It forces you to become someone you never thought you could be. It pushes you to depths of strength, wisdom, and love that most people will never experience. And in the process, you become not just a survivor, but a guide, a light for others who are still lost in the dark. Now, let's dive deeper into the weight carried by chosen ones. If you're still here, it means this resonates with you on a profound level. You felt the pressure, the trials, the unrelenting challenges that seem to follow you wherever you go. But here's something many people don't realize: the tests don't stop once you recognize yourself as a chosen one. In fact, they often intensify. Why? Because with greater understanding comes greater responsibility. Let's look at another example, a timeless lesson from the story of Job in the Bible. Job was described as a righteous man, blameless in his faith and integrity, yet he was tested to the very extreme. He lost his family, his wealth, his health, everything that defined his life. Why would a man so devoted to good be subjected to such torment? Job's story reveals that being chosen doesn't mean being spared from suffering, it means being entrusted with it. The purpose of these trials wasn't to destroy Job, but to deepen his faith and reveal his unshakable spirit. At the end of his journey, Job was not only restored but transformed. His understanding of life and God expanded in ways he couldn't have imagined before his suffering. The same principle applies to you. Life will strip you of everything you thought you needed, not to punish you, but to help you discover what cannot be taken away: your true self, your purpose, your connection to something larger than yourself. This is why the chosen often feel like they're losing everything they've ever known. It's not destruction, it's a rebirth. But make no mistake, rebirth is painful. It requires you to let go of the old version of yourself, the one that clung to safety, comfort, and certainty. And this is where many people falter. They resist the process. They cling to the life they once had, not realizing that the life waiting for them on the other side is far greater. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." This is the paradox of the chosen one's journey. In the moment, the trials feel unbearable, even senseless. But when you look back, you begin to see the intricate puzzle pieces falling into place. The heartbreak that taught you compassion, the failure that forced you to grow, the loss that deepened your gratitude. Every piece of the puzzle serves a purpose, even if you can't see it yet. Now, let's talk about the practical side of carrying this burden. It's one thing to understand the purpose behind your struggles, it's another to live through them day after day. So how do you survive and even thrive when the weight feels like too much to bear? First, you need to cultivate inner stillness. The world is loud, chaotic, and full of distractions. If you're not careful, you'll drown in the noise. But chosen ones are called to something deeper. You must learn to sit with yourself, to face your thoughts, your fears, your doubts. Meditation, journaling, prayer, whatever helps you connect with your inner self. Make it a priority. This isn't just self-care, it's survival. Because when the storm rages around you, your inner stillness will be your anchor. Second, embrace the power of surrender. This doesn't mean giving up, it means letting go of the need to control everything. When life tests you, your first instinct might be to fight back, to resist, to try to force things to go your way. But often, the greatest breakthroughs come when you stop resisting and start trusting. Trust the process. Trust that even in your darkest moments, there's a purpose to your pain. Trust that the universe or God or whatever you believe in is guiding you towards something greater. As the Tao Te Ching teaches, by letting go, it all gets done. Third, surround yourself with the right people. Being a chosen one doesn't mean you have to walk the path alone. In fact, one of the greatest lessons you'll learn is the importance of community. Find people who understand your journey, who lift you up, who remind you of your strength when you forget it. But be selective. Not everyone will understand your path, and that's okay. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to fulfill your purpose. And sometimes that means walking away from people who drain your energy or hold you back. Finally, remember to rest. This may sound simple, but it's often the hardest thing for chosen ones to do. You feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. You feel the urgency to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep proving yourself. But rest is not weakness, it's a necessary part of the journey. Even the greatest leaders, prophets, and visionaries took time to rest and recharge. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So give yourself permission to pause, to breathe, to simply be. And here's the truth. No one tells you the burden of the chosen one never fully goes away. There will always be challenges, always be tests, always be moments when you question whether you're strong enough to keep going. But each time, you'll discover a new depth of strength within yourself. Each time, you'll rise a little higher, shine a little brighter, and in the process, you'll inspire others to do the same. This is your gift. This is your purpose. You are not here to live an easy life, you are here to live a meaningful one. And the world needs you, your wisdom, your resilience, your light. So when life tests you, remember it's not trying to break you. It's trying to awaken you. At this point, you may be wondering, what's the end game? If the burden of being a chosen one never fully goes away, then what's the point of all the struggle? This is where the deepest truth lies. The burden isn't meant to crush you, it's meant to shape you into someone who can carry it with grace. And in carrying it, you become something extraordinary, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. The philosopher Carl Jung spoke about the concept of individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of yourself to become a whole, authentic being. He believed this journey was the primary task of life, but it's not for the faint of heart. Individuation requires you to confront your shadow, the parts of yourself you've rejected, the pain you've buried, the truths you've avoided. Chosen ones are often forced into this process, whether they like it or not. Life doesn't give them the option to stay asleep. The tests, the struggles, the constant challenges, they're all designed to wake you up, to pull you out of the comfort of ignorance and into the discomfort of growth. But here's the paradox: the more you embrace this process, the lighter the burden becomes. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you grow stronger. You learn to see your struggles not as obstacles, but as opportunities. You begin to understand that every difficulty is a gift in disguise, a chance to evolve into the person you were meant to be. This doesn't mean the pain goes away, it doesn't, but it becomes meaningful. And that meaning is what gives you the strength to keep going. Let's return to Daniel, the young man I mentioned earlier. By the time he's in his 30s, Daniel has faced more tests than he can count. He's lost relationships, missed opportunities, and endured heartbreak after heartbreak. But something has shifted. He no longer sees himself as a victim of life's cruelty. Instead, he sees himself as a warrior, someone who has been forged in the fire of adversity. And because of this, he's able to help others in a way he never could have before. When his friend loses a loved one, Daniel doesn't offer empty platitudes, he sits with them in their grief, holding space for their pain. When a colleague faces failure, Daniel shares his own story of perseverance, inspiring them to try again. His burden has become his gift. This is the ultimate secret of the chosen one's journey. Your pain is not just for you. It's for the people you're meant to help, the lives you're meant to touch, the change you're meant to create in the world. This doesn't mean you have to save everyone, far from it. But your experiences, your wisdom, your resilience, they're not just yours to keep. They're meant to be shared, to be used as a light for others who are still lost in the darkness. And here's where it gets even deeper. The more you give, the more you receive. This isn't just a spiritual principle, it's a psychological truth. Studies have shown that acts of kindness and generosity activate the same regions of the brain associated with pleasure and reward. When you help others, you're not just lifting their burden, you're lightening your own. This is why chosen ones often find their greatest joy not in what they achieve for themselves, but in what they give to others. It's a paradox: the more you carry, the freer you become. But let's not romanticize this. The journey is hard. There will be days when you want to give up, when the weight feels like too much, when you question whether it's all worth it. And it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to cry, to rest, to ask for help. Being a chosen one doesn't mean being invincible. It means being human fully, deeply, authentically human. It means embracing your vulnerability as much as your strength. It means allowing yourself to feel the pain, the doubt, the fear, without letting it define you. This is where faith comes in, not necessarily religious faith, but faith in something greater than yourself. It could be the universe, God, love, or simply the belief that your life has meaning. Without faith, the burden can feel unbearable. But with faith, even the heaviest load becomes lighter. As the Bible says in Matthew 11:28-30, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This doesn't mean your trials will disappear, but it does mean you don't have to carry them alone. So what can you take away from all of this? First, know that your struggles are not meaningless. They are shaping you, refining you, preparing you for a purpose you may not yet understand. Second, remember that you are not alone. There are others walking this path, others who understand the weight you carry. Seek them out, connect with them, and draw strength from their stories. Third, trust the process. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels unbearable, trust that there is a purpose to your pain. And finally, give yourself permission to rest. You are not a machine. You are a human being, and you deserve compassion, especially from yourself. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to leave you with one final thought: you were chosen, not because you are perfect, but because you are capable. You have within you a strength that can move mountains, a light that can pierce through the darkest night. Embrace your burden, not as a curse, but as a gift. Use it to become the person you were meant to be. And when the weight feels too heavy, remember this: you are not alone. The world needs you, and you are enough.